I'm Michelle Clark, and I am a Jamberry Nails independent consultant. And this is my complete guide to Jamberry Nails, their application and removal. After working with Jamberry Nails for a little while, I realized that there's lots of tips and techniques out there for applying them and for removing them. So I wanted to come up with a comprehensive video that showed all of those tips and techniques. Before we start, I just want to talk about Jamberry Nails overall. They are a vinyl nail adhesive that's activated with heat, and they last 1 to 2 weeks on your fingers and up to 6 weeks on your toenails. So if you want to order your own Jamberry nails, I have a website that you could go to. It is www.michelle, with one L, M-I-C-H-E-L-E, Clark.jamberrynails.net, and I'll post that at the end of this video as well. This is a place that you can go to order your own nails at any point in time. You can sign up to host a party if you're close to my area and would like to host a party. Or if you're interested in becoming a consultant yourself, you can join my team through that website. And I would love to have you on my team. I'm always looking to expand. So we're going to break this video up into a couple different parts. Prepping our nails, fitting the shield to your nails, actually applying the shield, and then removal. So we're going to start with prepping your nail. When it comes to prepping your nail, if you have any nail polish on at all, the first thing you want to do is remove your nail polish with acetone. It needs to be a clear acetone. You don't want to do any of the colored acetones as they contain moisturizers. So a clear or a yellow acetone to remove any polish that you have. The second thing you want to do is push back your cuticles with a cuticle pusher. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with my nails and take you through each of the steps as we go. One of the things that some people find with Jamberry nails is if you have more oily nails, you may have an issue with the nail sticking, the shield sticking. So one thing that's recommended is to wash your nails with Dawn dish soap. It removes all the oils off of your nails so that you get a good adherence with the nail shield. After you've washed with Dawn dish soap, which I've already done, you then need to clean the nail with rubbing alcohol. And then of course you need to let that dry. So as you're waiting for your alcohol to dry, then you can start preparing the nail shield. I've already cut my nail shield in half, or close to half. Actually, I tend to not cut it directly in half so that I have a little middle piece so that I can use at other times to put on toes or to put on my girls. Once you get the nail cut, then you want to cut around the outside, removing the extra white backing. So that way you can line it up to your nail and figure out which nail it matches up with best. When it comes to lining it up with the nail, it's always better to go a little short than to go long. You do not want the nail on the skin, you do not want the nail on the cuticle, because that will cause lifting. So you want to get it as close as you can to hitting all of the nail bed so that you get that waterproof seal that's necessary to keep the nail in place. So I've cheated a little bit and already pre-measured these, knowing that this is going to match up with my ring finger. At that point, now that my nail is dry, we start applying the nail. So a couple different things that you can do here. When I first started working with these, I used a hairdryer. Basically what you do is remove the backing from the nail shield, take your hairdryer and run the hairdryer on the back of the adhesive side of the nail for 10 to 15 seconds until it starts to become pliable. At that point then you would place the shield on the nail and work out all the bubbles and everything from there. The hairdryer is something that most people have at home, so that's a very easy thing to use. Another way to heat the nail is with a personal heater. It's a ceramic heater. Again, you just hold the adhesive side of the nail in front of the heater for 5 to 10, maybe even 15 seconds until it starts to become pliable, and then you place it on the nail. These techniques all worked well. I always had one nail that I had a really hard time getting a good seal with. Most of my nails would do fine, but one was kind of curved and grooved differently than my other nails, and I never got a good seal on that one. So just recently with this last set of nails that I tried, I've tried a new technique that some of the other Jamberry consultants recommended, which is the rice bag warmer technique. So basically what I did was took a cotton sock, filled it with uncooked rice, not instant rice, uncooked rice, tied a knot in the end, and then you heat this in the microwave. I heated this for about a minute to get a nice warm rice bag. So what you're going to do with this is, once you take the backing off the nail and place the nail on your finger. Now, I didn't heat the nail ahead of time. You could lay it on the rice bag warmer, but I like to place the nail and get it exactly where I want it to be before I put it on the rice bag warmer, and then that's going to seal it completely at that point. So I'm going to place the nail as close to the cuticle as I can without getting it on the cuticle. I always start in the middle of the cuticle and work my way to the outside to kind of push the nail down on each side. And double checking that I haven't gotten on the skin on either side, that it's lined up exactly right. Now, if you got your nail down and you felt that you needed to move it around, you could always pick it back up and move it again. We haven't heated it yet, so it's not sealed to the nail at that point. So you can see I've got extra nail hanging off the end that I have to deal with. When I first started working with these, I used scissors to trim this, and that becomes challenging, especially on the hand that you write with, to try to balance the scissors and get this trimmed correctly. So a new technique that I think works much better is to use fingernail clippers. So with the extra extra shield that I have hanging off, I'm going to take my clippers and I'm just going to trim right along the edge. And it doesn't have to look exactly perfect at this point because you can always go back and file once you've heated the nail. So I'm going to trim it down so it matches up right along the edge of my nail. And some people even say that you can trim off a little bit of your nail with it to get it right up to the edge. Now, another technique that some people have used at this point to get it to seal really nicely to the nail, I have just a little extra I'm going to trim off here, is to use a Ziploc bag. This, again, is a technique that I used before I used the rice bag, and some people use it in combination with the rice bag. But if you take a Ziploc bag and pull it tight over the fingernail and then wrap the end under, you can take that and run the hairdryer on that or put it in front of your ceramic heater and then pull it away from the hairdryer and push all the way around to make sure you've got it good and sealed. But if you're using the rice bag technique, you could use this, or you could just use the rice bag itself. Another technique that you might try is the stress ball technique. If you take a stress ball and you put it in front of the hairdryer or put it in front of the ceramic heater, heat it up, press it down over the nail, that will also get the nail sealed all the way around. But again, I found this rice bag technique to be the most effective to get a really good seal on the nail. So now that I've got my nail in place and I've trimmed it down to the level that it needs to be, I'm just going to take the nail and press it down into my rice bag. Again, it's already been heated. Press it down until you start to feel the finger get warm. And you're going to see when you pull the nail away that it is completely sealed. It's almost like a saran wrap, that it's sealed it to the nail completely. And then if you want to go back and just kind of press everything down again, you can do that just to make sure you've got all along the cuticle, all along the edge of the nail. The tip of the nail is also very important. You want to make sure you get a good seal at the tip, so you may want to just push the tip down into the rice bag warmer as well, because you don't want to get any lifting at all. And if there's a place for lifting to occur, then the water can get underneath there, and you can get even more lifting and may lose the nail completely. So now that I've got that completely sealed down, I'm going to let that cool. And what I usually do is place a couple nails and then come back and work with this. If there's any extra left, which really, because I trimmed this off with the fingernail clippers, there isn't much left, but you may have a corner that needs to be filed down a little bit. So you take your file, and it's a pretty coarse file that I start with, but filing is important that you do it in a certain direction. You don't want to go up and down with the file because that's obviously going to cause the shield to lift. You don't want to angle the file this way because you'll be taking the top layer of the nail off. You really want to angle the file this direction and just go down with the file. And what I usually do is just do a quick over the surface, and if there's any extra on the nail, it will crumble off at this point. And you can be kind of aggressive with this to get that extra to come off of the shield. So I do this till I get a nice smooth surface. I can kind of run my hand over it, feel it's a nice smooth surface. And then sometimes I go back with a file that's not as coarse as that one and just kind of give it a quick, almost like a buff at the end. Wipe off my extra. And now since I've taken some of the outside of the nail off, I want to make sure I heat seal it again. So I'm going to push it back into my rice bag. Make sure I get a good warm spot on my rice bag. And get the tip. And press and seal all the way around again to make sure I've got it completely sealed everywhere. Alright, so I've done a full set of nail shields with the blue camouflage on mine, but I want to do some close-up shots of actually putting the nail in place. So I'm using my daughter's nails. She's already washed with the Dawn dish soap. She's already cleaned with the alcohol. So now we're going to measure the shield to fit her nail. And what I'm going to do, as I said in the video, was cut the white part around the shield. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to kind of curve it a little bit so that I can figure out which finger I think it's going to line up with best. Again, you always want to go a little short instead of wide so that you stay on the nail itself. So it looks like it's going to fit this one. So I'm going to cut the nail shield, check it again, and then I'm going to peel the white backing off. Now you could lay this on the rice bag and heat it up, but I want to be able to move it around, so I'm going to put it on her finger, making sure I've got it lined up from side to side right, that I'm not on the skin and I'm not on the cuticle. And then I'm going to take my nail clippers and I'm going to clip the extra shield off, getting down close to her nail, the edge of her nail. Now, if when you put the nail on, if you have a curved nail and you get any kind of buckles or grooves in the nail, before trimming the shield, you can take the end of the shield and pull on it a little bit, and that will help pull some of those buckles and creases out. So now we're going to heat up the nail and work with it a little bit more. So I'm going to have her turn her hand over and just place it on the rice bag till it starts to feel warm. And she's got just a few ripples there, so I'm going to work those out with my cuticle pusher. And actually, I think that we can trim that nail down just a little bit more, and that will take care of that extra. I'm going to work those out. And I'm going to have her heat it one more time, just to make sure we've got the end heated. And you'll see that you get a nice smooth application. And we'll file the end of that off just a little bit. And let it cool. Get any extra off the edges, it will crumble off as we file it. You can see I've got a little corner there that's crumbling off because it's extra. And with her nails being shorter, we may have to use scissors to trim that extra off as well. Okay, and given that I did some filing on the tip, we're going to want to heat it one more time just to make sure we have a good seal. I'm going to go over with my file that's not quite as coarse to give it a nice smooth and a buff on that edge. Alright, we're going to heat it one more time. And go over it again with my cuticle pusher. Make sure we've got that edge completely ready to go. And there you have it. Again, these last 1 to 2 weeks on the fingernails, on your toes up to 6 weeks, and really, they really adhere to toes. One thing that you might want to do when you're working, when you have your shields on, is to use a cuticle oil. Jamberry Nails sells a cuticle oil as well. You can put it on when your shields are on, and it helps to hydrate the nail underneath. When it comes to removal, we suggest that you remove and then you give some time to let your nails rehydrate before you put a new set on. So if you want to take it off at night and then put the new set on the next morning. As far as removal, there's a couple different techniques with removal when you get to that point. 3 techniques really. The other day I tried to use the rice bag to remove my daughter's nails, and I found that they actually adhered the nail back down again, so I wouldn't recommend the rice bag for removal. If you do get any lifting while you're wearing your nails, you can heat your rice bag back up, press your nail, and I've had these on for a week now. I can press my nail back down into the rice bag if I get a little corner that starts to lift, which I haven't had that happen with this technique actually. I had that happen sometimes with the hairdryer. But I can push it back down in the rice bag, I can run my finger back over it, and it will cause the nail to adhere back down. sometimes you need to go back and refile as they kind of adjust to your nails. Every day, every other day, I'll go back and just run a smooth file over those just to make sure I've got all the rough edges, if there are any, which there usually aren't. So when it comes time to remove your Jamberry nails, a couple different ways that you can move them, 3 different ways you can remove them. One is with the hair dryer. What I usually do with the hair dryer is I just turn my hair dryer on and kind of lay it down on the table, put my whole set of nails in front of it, and the key here to removal is breaking the seal. So you want to take your cuticle pusher and you want to break the seal along the cuticle, and you want to gradually start to peel the nail off while keeping it in front of the heat. You do not want to just rip the nail off. If you get a little edge and rip it off, you may end up pulling, since it's such a strong adhesive, you may end up pulling the top part of the nail off, which obviously causes damage to the nail. So if you start to feel resistance as you're pulling up on the shield, heat more. The idea is to get as much heat as possible, get it dried out underneath where that adhesive is, so that you can gradually pull that nail off. So that's one technique you can use. Another technique that you can use is to take your acetone, pour it in a little cup, soak your nails in the acetone, and they will slide right off at that point. And the third technique, if your hair dryer gets too hot and you don't like that, and if you don't like to use the chemicals of acetone, you can run your hands under warm or hot water. Again, break the seal at the cuticle and gradually peel that nail off. Now you may wonder, why don't they come off when I'm washing dishes or when I'm in the shower? It's because you have that watertight seal, and by breaking that seal, you're allowing the water to get underneath it and allow the shield to pull away from the nail. So those are the 3 removal techniques. Again, these are great products. I've completely stopped using nail polish since I started with my Jamberry nails. And your first application is a little bit challenging, just figuring out how to cut everything and get everything to the right size. But the more you work with them, the easier they get. And I think you'll really enjoy Jamberry nails when you give them a chance. Again, my website is www.michelleclark, Michelle with 1 L, .jamberrynails.net. Thank you.